Unique Spiritual Experiment on Collective Consciousness, Part 3. The congregation of sadhaks in the Mahayagya and their follow-up collective sadhana, blessed by the immense motherly love and inspiring guidance of Gurudev Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya and his wife Srimati Bhagavati Devi Sharma, laid the foundation of the Gayatri Parivar. Citing the foremost objectives and constructive tasks of this mission, Gurudev wrote in Akhanjyoti of July 53, Emancipation of and upliftment of the woman, Nari Jagran, re-establishment of the glory and progress of women as the architects of the New World Order, spiritual elevation of mankind, and revival of the ethical values and the divine culture is the primary altruist goal of our mission. Gayatri, the deity of supreme knowledge, spiritual wisdom, and inner force, was the focus of devotion and source of inspiration of this mission. Intensive sadhana-based training programs of spiritual refinement of personality began at the Gayatri Tapobhumi after the Mahayagya. The spirit of united efforts was creatively channelized by organizing different yagyas and the social reformation programs like Nari Jagran Abhiyan. Under the auspices of the Gayatri Parivar Yug Nirman Yojana, research on the science of yagya was encouraged by different kinds of yagya experiments conducted as per the descriptions in the Vedic scriptures. These included 1. The Gyan Yagya of the recitation of the 4 Vedas. 2. Mahamrityunjaya Yagya. 3. Rudra Yagya. 4th. Vishnu Yagya. 5th. Sata Chandi Yagya. 6th. Navgraha Yagya. 7th. Ganpati Yagya. 8th. Saraswati Yagya. 9th. Jyoti Stama Yagya. And 10th. Agni Stama Yagya. These commenced the series of spiritual experiment for purification of the subliminal environment of life. More and more Gayatri sadhaks had by now begun to participate in these altruist activities. The next major experiment of collective spiritual power was conducted as the Brahmastra Anushtan that concluded with the Sahasra 1000 Kundiya Yagya, that was called Gayatri Mahayagya, in November 1958. The first phase of this Anushtan comprised of 24 lakh of japas of the Gayatri Mantra, 24 Ahuti Havan, chanting of Gayatri Chalisa 24,000 times and writing of 24,000 Gayatri Mantra per day, performed collectively by a group of sadhaks under austere disciplines. The second phase expanded these to 1,25,000 japas, 24 lakh ahutis, 24 lakh pat, and 24 lakh mantra writing. The Sahasra Kundiya Gayatri Mahayagya at the Purnahuti of this Anushtan was a milestone in reviving the Dharma Anushtan of the kind of the Rishi age. Only those who had followed self-restraint for the past 1 year with 22 days of Vrata Upvas and with chastity and austerity were allowed to participate in this sacred yagya, provided they had also completed an Anushtan of 1,25,000 japs of Gayatri Mantra. Constructive activities of the Yug Nirman Yojana were geared up to reach the masses after his return in 1962 from the Himalayas. Special sadhana practices of Panchakoshi Gayatri, Kalp Upvasa, and Chandrayan Vrat were guided by him for the spiritually enlightened disciples during 1962 to 1965 at Gayatri Tapobhumi, Mathura. It was indeed a phenomenal attempt of initiating such higher-level sadhana of the Vedic age in the present era in Kali Yuga. Year 1962 also faced the rare alignment of planets, the Astagra Yoga, which was professed by several authentic astrologers and foretellers across the globe as an ill omen for the earth. At this juncture, all the Parijans of Gayatri Parivar performed dedicated collective anushtans to prevent the likely disastrous effects. As a result, the Ashtagrahi Yoga phase had passed without any significant disturbance on our planet. Remarkable Samuhik Sadhana experiments of Shakti Mahapurush Charan were conducted by the Gayatri Parivar at the time of the sudden war attack by China in 1962 and by Pakistan in 1965. The spiritual energy generated by these collective sadhanas worked behind the mysterious or miraculous happenings in the battlefields. What made the victorious Chinese armies unexpected about turn in front of the defeated Indian army? Political analysts or defense experts do not have any logical explanation of this unprecedented move. Only the visionaries of the subtle impact of sadhana were able to know the real cause. Several battalions of the Indian Armed Forces experienced miraculous support at critical moments in the War of 1965. Several inexplicable, mysterious incidences of this war indicate that some spiritual force was also linked with the valor of our soldiers, which led to glorious victory. The role of the Shakti Mahapurush Charana cannot be denied here. These special experiments were also accompanied by a large number of Gayatri Yagyas all over the country. After this year-long sadhana in the Himalayas, Acharya Sriram Sharma established Shantikunj at Haridwar in the holy vicinity of the Ganges in the heart of the sacred land which once upon a time was a tapobhumi of Brahma Rishi Vishwamitra. This was another milestone in Acharyaji's dedicated endeavor as per the guidance of his guru, a Himalayan Siddha yogi, and the inspirations of the rishis who are engaged in divine sadhanas in their subtle bodies in the invisible cores of the Himalayas. Shantikunj was instituted as an academy of human development, a center for constructive resurrection of the rishi culture, and for the trend-setting integration of science and spirituality. The series of novel spiritual experiments of greater expansion began at Shantikunj with the Pran Pratyavartan Satras in 1973. This remarked arousal of thousands of talented personalities and sadhaks who devoted their lifetime and resources for the noble goals of the mission. Many of them voluntarily came to Shantikunj for good. In another few years, the family of Gayatri Parivar expanded up to 2 million. The golden jubilee year of Gurudev's divine self-realization and initiation of his eminent sadhana was commemorated in 1976 by intensive programs to edify the inner strengths of the Parijans. Determined sadhaks jointly accomplished grand sadhanas of 24 crore jap anushtan of Gayatri Mantra. This was followed by yet another Purusharan in the silver jubilee year of the Gayatri Parivar in 1978. Much before the scientific community was alarmed by the unexpected fall of the Skylab in June 1979, Acharyaji's peerless precognition had appraised him of this hazard. Accordingly, he had initiated a Suraksha Anushtan at Shantikunj. Lakhs of spiritually elevated Parijans of the Gayatri Parivar performed this spiritual experiment aimed at preventing the disastrous consequences of the likely mishap. Space scientists had feared Skylab's fall that could have risked calamitous loss at Laos, Manila, Panama, Nigeria, several countries in the Atlantic region, and the states of Gujarat or Orissa and West Bengal in India. However, at the last moments, this huge spacecraft got naturally plunged into the remote depths of the Pacific Ocean, leaving safe the inhabited land of our planet. No scientific investigation could decipher the hidden force of nature that triggered an upright change in the scientifically affirmed likelihood. A deep study into the dominance of the subtle over the visible world elucidates that this could be made possible by when conscious power aroused by spiritual sadhanas. The months-long continuous Suraka Anushtans of the sadhakas of Gayatri Parivar, empowered by the spiritual force of the angelic saint Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya, had indeed helped induce such a subliminal effort. Revered Acharya Ji had declared the period of 1980 to 2000 as Yug Sandhi Kal, the most critical phase of cosmic changes before the change of an era. He emphasized the need for greater and greater purification of people's mind and spiritual enlightenment and molding of their attitude to adapt to the new world order that is due to be bestowed by the Almighty. In his views, eradication of the evils of the Kali Yuga and descent of the bright age of truth could be quite painful and devastating for those immersed in the mire of Kali Yuga and those contributing to further maligning of the subtle environment in this era of ethical decline. Omniscient Creator has bequeathed thy power in the form of spirituality. Thee expects thou, children, to arouse and activate this power to make this cosmic transition of an era harmonious both in the physical and the subliminal domains of nature. He adduced global participation of awakened souls towards this divine endeavor through Pragya Purushcharan. This experiment began as a mass movement with the daily Anushtan of 24 crore Gayatri Mantra Japas performed collectively by 24 lakh Parijans of the Gayatri Parivar. The number of participants gradually increased significantly, and so the cycles of the japas reached the magnificent 120 crores per day. The number of yagyas and havans were also augmented in the same proportion, reaching in almost every village and every town and city in India, an increasing number of places abroad. This remarks a rare endeavor of active participation of the awakened souls in God's project of purification and righteous orientation of the subliminal flow. This reminds us of the epoch-making cooperation of the monkeys and bears, the Gwal Gopis, and the bhikshus and bhikshunis with the divine incarnations of Sri Ram, Krishna, and Gautam Buddha in the different ages. As the Yug Sandhi period succeeded, Acharya Ji laid greater thrust on collective sadhana and named the associated spiritual endeavors as Yug Sadhana to signify their relevance in meeting the call of the time. By the end of the Kalp Sadhana Satra in 1984, Shanti Kunj had also practically become a Kranti Kunj, a center for revolutionary changes and reconstruction. The volcano of spiritual energy erupted by its Vichar Kranti Abhiyan had by then begun expanding to embrace the whole world in its folds. After his fourth visit to the Asortic Siddha regions of the Himalayas in 1984, Gurudev Acharya Ji commenced his Sukshmi Karan sadhana from the Ram Navami day. This was the most rigorous and arduous sadhana of sublimation of the life force and its spiritual polymerization to effectuate simultaneous reconstructing revolution on 5 fronts. First, cleansing the atmosphere and the physical domain of life. Second, purification of the subtle environment of life. Third, annulling the possibilities of total extinction of humanity and destruction of the world. Fourth, foundations of a new era of global peace and righteous progress. Fifth, arousal and training of the spiritually refined talents and development of divine personalities. This sadhana continued 24 hours a day for 3 years. Success of this historic sadhana bestowed 2 supernatural accomplishments. First, activation of the omnipresent Kundalini of the world, a divine achievement that had so far been ventured only by Brahma Rishi Vishwamitra in the Vedic ages. Second, generation of 5 Virbhadras endowed with Gurudev's spiritual siddhis who were to subliminally take charge of the above-mentioned 5 endeavors. The regular sadhana satras of 9 days for the masses continued as per schedule at Shantikunj during and after the Sukshmikaran sadhana. The Purnahuti of the Sukshmikaran sadhana was marked by organization of 108 Kundiya Grand Gayatri Yajna all over the country. The unique global experiment of the arousal of the cosmic consciousness and prudent illuminations of human intellect began as Yug Sandhi Mahapurush Charan in 1988. In order to understand the basis, mode of performance, and impact of this collective sadhana, let us elucidate the scientific aspects of its foundational elements: Sabda Shakti, Mantra Shakti, Gayatri meditation and Jap sadhana, power of prayers, and the effects of yajnas.